Thank you. Tonight on News 5 Live, a Belizean will be the new Secretary General of CARICOM. Teachers break their own strike record, and 2 COVID-19 clusters under investigation in Belize City. Details of these stories and more coming up in tonight's newscast.
It's a fact that with Smart, you get truly unlimited everything. Only with Smart, you get unlimited data anytime, while with the other guy, it's only double data on weekends. With unlimited data every day with Smart, there's no need to wait. So, it's a fact that our unlimited plans beat the competition. Stop being measured and told when to use your data and get unlimited talk, text, and data. Experience the true unlimited plans with Smart. That's a fact. Make the switch and live smart.
Offside! Was that a goal? Over.
As we continue to enhance customer experience, the Social Security Board is proposing the use of biometrics. Biometrics is the measurement of a person's unique physical characteristics, such as fingerprints and facial features, used to establish and verify that you are who you say you are. Biometrics will ensure services are provided to the right person at the right time, making customer transactions easier and secure. Identity management with biometrics will be easier. It allows us to quickly and accurately confirm your identity when accessing any of our services, from the moment a person is registered to the moment the payment of a benefit is made. With biometrics, fraud will be minimized by easily identifying those who pose a security risk. The enhancement of customer services to you means no more filling out of forms, no more presentation of an ID, and decreased waiting time. Your convenience and your information security is our priority. Social Security Board, safeguarding you, your family, your future.
Bees. These small insects play a vital role in the survival of the human species, as they provide us with pollination services that create our natural healthy foods, medicine, and much more. Over the years, these little creatures have been under attack. Their habitats are being destroyed, their food and water sources contaminated. All over the world, their populations are drastically declining. But there is hope. You can be a part of the change that saves these amazing creatures and our well-being. Take action and be engaged by reducing the use of chemicals, planting more flowering trees in your backyards, place water containers in your gardens, and by consuming honey from your local beekeepers. As we celebrate World Bee Day 2021, let us all support the world movement to protect this important species. This message was brought to you by the Belize Marketing and Development Corporation, CARICOM Development Fund, Ministry of Agriculture, and the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations.
Hello Belize. You may not be aware of the new travel requirements set in place by the Center of Disease Control and Prevention. Passengers traveling to the U.S. must present a negative COVID test or a documentation of having recovered from COVID-19 to travel to the U.S. In light of this, Maya, in partnership with Caring Hands Clinic, have established testing centers in all their municipal airports. Caring Hands Antigen Test Center is operational in San Pedro, Belize City, Dangriga, Placencia, and Hopkins. These testing facilities are staffed by licensed healthcare professionals, including doctors, registered nurses, and nurse practitioners. Testing is done using Abbott rapid test devices that are FDA approved and made in the USA. The service is safe, fast, affordable, and the close proximity of the centers makes them convenient. Walk-ins are welcomed, but appointments are encouraged. If you would like to make an appointment, please feel free to do so at Make your appointment, get tested, and in 15 minutes, you can get back to your vacation.
Why, Tony?
Boy, kid, where you going, man?
We actually come see we can need to buy a stack of them plastic plates and cups for my grocery shop because I run low.
Boy, I stopped importing that thing since April 15th, you know. And I just ran out to the last batch, must be about like 3 weeks back, you know.
Man, do I usually have anything? Where you going?
Check this, right? Under the new law, we ban all single-use plastics, so that cups, plates, forks, spoons, and knives, all of that. Since April 15th, can't import none of them. Starting January 15, 2021, you can't manufacture them. April 15, 2021, you can't sell them. And after July 14, 2021, if you get catch with any other thing, you will get fined.
Me never know this. I guess I have to make some changes then. I have to make any customers know that anything not available. Anyways, bro. Thanks, man.
No problem, man. Take care.
Good evening and welcome to News 5 Live for Tuesday, May 11th. My name is Sabrina Daly. In a first for Belize, Dr. Carla Barnett has been designated as the Secretary General of CARICOM. She was unanimously selected at a Heads of CARICOM meeting today. Barnett has served as the Deputy Secretary General of CARICOM, as well as Vice President of Operations of the Caribbean Development Bank. Locally, Barnett served as Vice President of the Belize Senate, Deputy Governor of the Central Bank, and in various ministerial capacities, most recently as a Minister of State in the Ministry of Finance. Today, she spoke with the media via Zoom. Reporter Andrea Polanco was on the call.
Dr. Carla Barnett is the new Secretary General of CARICOM. She is the first woman and first Belizean to lead the regional organization.
For me, it's really, it's an honor. It's very exciting. There's a lot of work to do, and we're looking forward to doing it. I've lived in Guyana before. I lived there for 6 years as Deputy Secretary General, but there are old friendships that I will certainly rekindle. But the most exciting part of it at this time, I think it's getting the opportunity to make that impact at the regional level. Because for me, it is really important at this time for the region to be well organized to deal with the many crises that we are faced with, the two most important being COVID and the economy.
Dr. Barnett says that while she's happy with the work the organization has been doing to tackle COVID-19 and the economic downturn across the region, she believes CARICOM will continue to build on these efforts with a strong focus on financing for the region to bounce back.
It is necessary for us to continue to do that work because all of us are in this situation where we've had to borrow more than we would normally have wanted to, and that's happening across the region. And we also need to be able to access even more borrowings because liquidity, money in the bank is important to be able to buy vaccines. And so some of our countries are really hard pressed coming up with the resources to do some of the basic things that need to be done. So there's a lot of work that's ongoing there. And that work needs to be continued, and it needs to be continued as smoothly as possible, so there's no issues, this discontinuities that may arise.
Barnett will take up the post of CARICOM's Secretary General in Guyana in August. She says that one of the first things on her agenda is to extend CARICOM's outreach and implementation across member states.
One of the things that I would like to see us do is to share more of that information and bring more people on board in terms of communicating the message and the actions and offering ideas about what CARICOM can do and how they feel the impact of CARICOM. So for me, there's going to be a lot more outreach, even as we deal with the issues of implementation, because that's one of the things that we hear a lot of the time too, that we're not very good at implementing the decisions that we take. And so for me, it's the outreach and it's a focus on implementation as well.
Reporting for News 5, I'm Andrea Polanco.
Dr. Barnett holds a PhD in social sciences from the University of the West Indies, as well as a postgrad and undergrad degrees in economics. Barnett replaces Ambassador Erwin LaRocque, who is completing his second term. The Belize National Teachers Union made history today. The union has been engaged in strike action for 12 days, the longest on record. Back in 2005, the BNTU protested for a total of 10 days, while in 2016, their protest lasted for 11 days. Indications are that this time around, the strike will continue into the weekend. Teachers have taken to streets alongside sister unions, protesting the government of Belize's now implemented salary cuts and increment freezes. The unions are also calling on GOB to get serious about corruption by enacting more good governance legislation. News 5's Paul Lopez looks back at the Green Machine's history of protest in Belize. Tonight, we look at the strike of 2005.
Do not play with our salary increase. We deserve it. We have worked for it. I must say also that the business community said we shouldn't get our salary increase. And I need to remind the business community that it is the union that negotiates for salary increases for public officers and teachers. The raise that we get, we go and buy from them in their store. So we deserve our 8% and 5% salary increase.
Former BNTU National President Anthony Fuentes made those remarks at a joint press conference in 2005. At the time, the People's United Party formed the government. Prime Minister Said Musa was preparing to present an austere 2005-2006 budget on January 19, 2005.
Regrettable as it is, and as much as it goes against the grain of a PUP government that is noted for having significantly reduced taxes over the past 6 years, we have to face the hard reality. New revenue measures are necessary. After consultation with the respective unions, therefore, we propose that the agreed increases in salaries for all public officers and the increases for pensioners be staggered over the next 3 years, beginning July 2005.
This did not sit well with the unions. In fact, violence erupted outside the House of the National Assembly on that day, and by January 19th, the unions were calling for a 2-day national shutdown.
As a union, we have made it abundantly clear to all our educators in this country that there will be a total shutdown of all the schools on Thursday and Friday.
Enough is enough! True to their words, teachers and the National Trade Union Congress of Belize took to the streets in protest for 2 days.
Most schools throughout the country of Belize is closed today in solidarity with the National Trade Union Congress of Belize.
What exactly are you trying to push for? I know it's the raise increase, but what exactly are you?
It's not only the raise increase, it's the tax measures that government is planning to impose. Along with that, the mismanagement and corruption in the government of Belize.
If this doesn't work, Mr. Fuentes, what are the teachers prepared to do?
Well, this vigilance will continue, and we will not stop until we get what we want.
On the second day of the national shutdown, violence broke out on the Independence Hill in Belmopan. Weeks of negotiations were held, and by February 11th of 2005, the government of Belize would give in to the unions. An agreement was made that public officers and teachers would get their promised salary increases of 5% for senior officers and 8% for junior officers and pensioners as of April 1st, 2005.
The struggle for freedom and justice is never ending. And in that struggle, trade unions have a major and legitimate role to play. Today, we are witnessing another product of the militancy of trade unions, this one achieved with the cooperation of a government that has demonstrated its belief in participatory democracy and social justice.
That was the end of an era. A decade later, the Green Machine would once again stage a national protest that would last for 11 days.
We did our wrongs. We had all our branches had meetings. And as far as I'm aware, based on reports that we've received, that majority are saying that they want their adjustments now. Because the money should have been there. And so our teachers, a lot of our teachers are not happy right now.
Reporting for News 5, I am Paul Lopez.
News 5 will have more on the strike of 2016 in part 2 of our look back at the union strikes on Wednesday. Well, that was almost 2 decades ago. Tonight, the BNTU and the PSU continue to press the government. Will this POP administration yield to the union's request, like the last POP administration? Considering its historical 12 days of consecutive strike action, teachers joined PSU members in front of the House of Culture. Inside, Cabinet met for their weekly meeting, but by 10:30 a.m., Prime Minister John Briceño was seen leaving the compound. Following behind were several other ministers. Demonstrations by teachers and public officers also carried out marches in other parts of the country, including the city of Belmopan and Benque Viejo del Carmen. The joint union leadership is set to meet with government representatives on Thursday inside the House of Culture. Another night, another murder in Belize City. Shortly before 9 o'clock on Monday, police responded to a deadly crossfire between feuding gangs on Armadillo Street. When they arrived on the scene, the responding officers discovered the lifeless body of a driver who was behind the wheel of a minivan. The vehicle careened into a nearby ditch when its occupants came under armed assault from persons inside a yard on the opposite side of the street. It is the latest episode in an ongoing bloodbath. News 5's Isani Caetano has the details.
The relentless spate of gun violence that has taken hold of Belize City since last Thursday claimed yet another life on Monday night. Traveling inside a black minivan were 3 persons, including a 13-year-old male minor. The Honda Odyssey, driven by 33-year-old Tyrone Young, proceeded from Dolphin Street onto Armadillo Street heading west. Upon nearing its intersection with Curaçao Street, the vehicle came under gunfire.
We know that there was a shooting and there was an exchange of gunfire according to the police, and he was shot.
A salvo of bullets fired from a nearby property shattered the rear window, a single round finding its mark on Young's head. The deadly confrontation took place just 2 blocks away from the Raccoon Street Police headquarters. When officers arrived at the scene, they found the vehicle in a nearby ditch. The Los Lagos resident was observed motionless, slumped over the steering wheel.
I'm still not clear as to where, but that's about it that we know right now.
Describe for us receiving the information of this incident.
Shocking, unexpected. At the time, anytime your phone rings, the bad news. The family were really close.
News 5 understands that the latest homicide is also gang-related. Residents theorize that the occupants of the vehicle were in the area to carry out a shooting when they were fired upon. It is during that ambush that they returned fire. Young's uncle, with whom he was extremely close, denies that he was there along with 18-year-old Kobe Sebastian and the underage student for the purpose of committing a crime.
I know that sometimes, some of the friends we used to hang out with, they're not friends where you get advice to hang out with, but to that part of it, not that I know of.
It's a rather difficult time for you, Mr. Williams. Have you been able to speak with your sister, the young man's mother, to kind of get an idea of how she's dealing with this tragedy?
Rough. She can't talk right now. I mean, that's about it.
This afternoon, officers once again descended on Armadillo Street to interrogate those they believe could provide information on the fatal encounter. Upon their departure from the area, one person was in police custody.
Jovial, yes. I mean, we socialize a lot, so I don't know, like, you know, I've never seen him down, depressed. You know, he's always in a happy mood. They're not somebody that you would expect if you get in any kind of problem like that, you know. Like I said, the family is close, so like anytime we get together, just we socialize, or mostly go to Keys, hang out at my house, party.
Recovered from inside the vehicle was one expended 9mm shell. Inside the yard where the gunshots were fired from were 3 expended 9mm shells. A vehicle which was parked on the street was also damaged by gunfire. Police subsequently arrested Sebastian and his teenage accomplice inside the parking lot of 88 Shopping Center, where they also retrieved a revolver. Reporting for News 5, I am Isana Cayetano.
Coming up, concerning COVID clusters in Belize City. A member of the surveillance team has the latest data when we return.
Hello, friends. This is Dr. Bob Roberts with another 60-second sermon from God's Word. The Bible says, "For God did not call us to be impure, but to live a holy life. Therefore, he who rejects his instruction does not reject man, but God, who gives you his Holy Spirit." I once asked a friend of mine, "Charlie, why is it that some Christians seem to do anything they want to do and get away with it, when if I even think something wrong, the Lord deeply convicts me?" He replied, "Bob, thank God he does, for that only proves that you are a child of God and that the Holy Spirit is working in you. The Bible says, 'My son, despise not thou the chastening of the Lord, nor faint when thou art rebuked of him. For whom the Lord loveth, he chasteneth, and scourgeth every son whom he receiveth.'" The best evidence that one is a child of God is that they cannot live unholy lives and get away with deliberate sinning. I often think of Mary Jo White, a young lady who had been in a car wreck and left paralyzed from her waist down. She felt nothing from her waist down, not even the bed sores on her body. We normally shun pain, but she would have rejoiced if she could have felt it, because she would have known that there was life in her body again. So remember, when you sin and get caught and feel the pain of conviction, it only proves that you are a child of God and the Holy Spirit is alive and active in your life. This is a real reason why some can and others can't. Today's 60-second sermon has been presented by Christian Foundations of Faith in cooperation with the Baptist churches in your area.
So I'm going to wonder if by chance I could get your number. Digit. Nice.
Of course, you have digital, right?
Yeah, of course.
The truth is, your credit lasts way longer with Digi. Like if you top up with like $30, that could last you 90 days. With the other guys, that must say 60. Then with the other guys, you have to use all of your good prime credit before you even touch your bonus credit. But with Digi, you could use your bonus credit before you even touch your prime credit. Like, what are the point to have free credit if you can't use it how you want? So, what are your number?
Just give me one moment.
The truth is, only Digi offers nationwide LTE coverage, fastest mobile data speeds, and the best call quality.
1 year ago, an invisible but deadly virus altered our way of life. Upon assuming my responsibilities as Minister of Home Affairs, over 190 members of the Belize Police Department had contracted the virus, and regrettably, 2 of our heroes in uniform lost the battle on the front line of this pandemic. Today, I can proudly say that there are no reported cases within our department, and this is directly attributable to the phenomenal work of the healthcare workers and the team over at the Ministry of Health and Wellness. We are in this together. I believe in the COVID-19 vaccine. This is our chance, our opportunity, our window to return to normalcy. #GetVaccinated_Belize.
It is my time
to protect your life.
Don't wait to vaccinate.
I believe in the COVID-19 vaccine.
The vaccine is the best way to protect lives.
Don't wait, vaccinate.
Don't hesitate, Belize.
Vaccinate. Be COVID-19 safe.
If you care,
love them.
Protect them.
Vaccinate them.
The Ministry of Health and Wellness is concerned about COVID-19 clusters that have been detected in Belize City. Surveillance Officer Lorna Paris says that the number of infections have increased in this area. In the past 2 weeks, 20 cases had been detected each week.
Belize district has been experiencing a few clusters. You will notice the report coming out today, but for last week, Belize City had, Belize district then had 20 positive cases, no? And these are as a result of some clusters, 2 separate clusters happening that they're investigating. And then, once you detect a case, you do your contact tracing. And in that process, then you identify new cases too. So, that can stretch for a little while. Usually we try to cut the transmission within the first few days. Most of the cases were detected firstly in the workplace. And thereafter, then you start to do your contact tracing, because you can go as far back as during the Easter weekend, which is when I think some of that actually happened. And with the enhanced surveillance and with the actual testing that is ongoing, especially in the Belize district, they have been able to identify these cases.
14 new COVID-19 cases were confirmed over the weekend. Between May 8th and 10th, the majority within Belize City, 1 in San Pedro, 2 each in Belmopan and San Ignacio, and 1 in Bella Vista in the Toledo district. That puts the total number of active cases at 63. Since the pandemic hit, 323 persons have died from complications associated with COVID-19. The country's overall positivity rate is at 11.2%. While there are 16 cases under investigation, there is 1 person hospitalized.
From what I understand, there is currently 1 admission, but not intensive care, no. We haven't had serious admissions. I think the last ICU admission, if you give me a little chance, I can get back to you with that, because I do have my data in that regard. But I must tell you that we haven't had any recent ICU admission due to COVID.
Lorna Paris believes that the active surveillance being carried out by the Ministry of Health and Wellness, including testing, helps with the transmissibility rate of COVID-19.
When you're going through that phase of silent spread, silently spreading, the active surveillance, trying to find those cases before it goes off like wildfire, like what we had in the northern part of the country last year. I think there is, some not justification. I wouldn't want to use the word justification, but I think that the we can conclude with what we are seeing that definitely we don't have that type of virulent strain or that would have spread like wildfire, especially in the Belize district. When you think about the clustering, looking at the living conditions, the crowding, the traveling on the bus, working in big establishments. These are areas that we must say in the Belize district, the active surveillance has really helped to keep that down. So it is, I think alone, it would not have been as good a story as it is. But the interventions have been timely and I think have been effective in containing the spread at this point. But that doesn't mean we're out of the woods, of course.
The Ministry of Health and Wellness is seeing a decrease in coronavirus testing. Surveillance Officer Lorna Paris spoke about testing practices as tourism activity picks back up.
We have seen a decrease in the amount of testing that we are doing. We are trying to get our teams back to try to see if we can do some targeted testing again. In some areas, testing is ongoing. I mean, the enhanced surveillance at health facilities is ongoing. So anybody arriving at the flu clinic or any of our health facilities that is symptomatic is being screened. And also all admissions coming to a health facility should also be screened. And that is just part of the enhanced surveillance that is ongoing in trying to detect any case that might be presenting with other symptoms, not necessarily respiratory symptoms. So that is one way, but the testing that we used to do before, if you recall, we used to do testing at workplaces. We used to set up testing sites at different areas. With the introduction of vaccines now, because our human resources are a bit limited, there has been a shift in trying to get persons vaccinated, and so we have to look at looking at the available staff to see how we can continue doing these surveillance activities and also meet the goals of getting our people also vaccinated.
On the topic of the availability of human resources, the media asked Surveillance Officer Lorna Paris to comment on the issue of nurses taking part in a go-slow and what that means for the service to COVID-19 patients.
Most of the activities, COVID-related activities where nurses are involved is really in the direct care and management of hospitalized patients. Most of the surveillance activities are really done by field officers, mainly our public health inspectors that have contact tracers that we have been training in doing these activities. So the flu clinic, as I said, remains open, I think, in all facilities. I can see a problem if, I suppose, we start having hospitalization of cases. If we have an increase in that number, then maybe that would affect it, but I am not sure about that, again, as I said. But currently, as I said, most of our surveillance activities are not really inclusive of nurses. We have a few nurses that do help us out with swabbing when we go out in the communities or when we do that type of targeted testing. But then, as I said, we have not been doing much of that.
The Carl Huschner Memorial Hospital has received a donation from the Pan American Health Organization of personal protective equipment and biomedical equipment for its COVID-19 unit. The items include 5 oxygen concentrators, 2 portable handheld and 112 fingertip pulse oximeters, 300 KN95 respirator masks, 900 face shields, 7,500 surgical masks, 9,920 gowns, and 5,000 gloves. A press release from the PAHO says oxygen concentrators are part of PAHO's ongoing technical support to enhance medical oxygen supply when demands increase. The donated handheld and fingertip pulse oximeters facilitate monitoring of oxygen status during clinical management of patients diagnosed with COVID-19. The PPE kits are critical to minimizing exposure of health workers to COVID-19 as they provide care to patients hospitalized at the KHMH COVID-19 Critical Care Unit. After the break, more on the pending Superbond payment with Minister of State Christopher Koyi. But first, here's a look at the latest COVID-19 figures.
Rain or shine, any weather. When we go born, we go burn. Quality paint, no faded colors. When we go born, we go burn. Let your imagination run free. Any color for this place, when we say bold, that mean it don't peel. Quality in every color, lifetime guarantee. When we go bold, we go burn. When we go bold, we go burn. Rain or shine, any color you need. When we go bold, we go burn.
Laying the foundation to get where we are today. Home Protector Insurance has evolved, keeping pace with an ever-changing world. Stepping into the future, changing the Belizean experience, giving you what you need, when you need it. Home Protector Insurance. If it's worth something, insure it.
On Monday, Minister of State Christopher Koyi shared the latest information on Belize's pending Superbond payment. A $7 million coupon is due later this month, and from the look of it, Belize will not be able to meet this external debt obligation. Bondholders are reluctant to proceed with a restructuring unless Belize signs onto an IMF program. But government seems to be firm in its financial plan as laid out in the 2021 budget. The junior Minister of Finance also identified the members of Belize's debt management team.
I think if you look at the budget book, that speaks to the fiscal plan of the government, and that lays out what the adjustments that will be made. Those adjustments contemplate restructuring, and thus you have reductions in the servicing obligations line item in the budget. So we plan on a restructuring, on a debt restructuring, and in that regard, what is going to be paid ultimately will depend on the outcome of that restructuring process. Marcus Pat is a part of the debt management team. It's essentially the 2017 restructuring team. We have the city financial markets. They're the external financial advisor. We also have Lee Bukait as the strategic advisor, and then we also have Sullivan and Cromwell as our legal advisors.
Belize's reputation in light of its bad payment history since 2008 is also cause for concern, says Minister Koyi. The country's debt profile paints a bad picture, considering the existing debt of over $1 billion.
Looking at the debt profile of Belize, it's certainly not commendable to see that we had $1 billion in super bond debt back in 2008, and we have over $1 billion in super bond debt in 2021. All that sounds to me is that we've been paying interest for the last 12, 13 years. Interest that we don't get back. That's gone. And we still owe $1 billion, in fact, $1.1 billion because we capitalized the interest last year. We owe $1.1 billion now. That doesn't sound like a good debt management policy that's been effected over the past decade whatsoever. Is it that we want to continue that policy and continue owing $1 billion and just keep paying interest? I would think not. Personally, I would say that that doesn't make any sense whatsoever.
News 5 extends its sincere apologies to both former area representative Frank Papa Mena and Dr. Peter Allen for the story we broadcast on April 15, 2021. We report that a pair of siblings claim that they had been swindled out of a $2 million investment in CommerceByte by Frank Papa Mena and Dr. Peter Allen. Regrettably, we relied on information received which had not been independently verified and has proven to be untrue. In the circumstances, we had no proper basis for saying that either Mena or Dr. Allen had any stake in the company RSL, would benefit in any way from any CommerceByte project, or that Mena owned any land in CommerceByte by which he would benefit by way of any electricity project. We acknowledge that the story may have damaged both Frank Papa Mena's and Dr. Peter Allen's reputation and caused them humiliation and distress. We therefore unreservedly apologize to both of them for this. We inform our viewers and followers on social media that we retract all the allegations against both Frank Mena and Dr. Allen in full and shall not repeat them. It is our hopes that this apology and retraction will repair any injury suffered by Mena and Dr. Allen as a result of the allegations we aired and restore their reputations. When we return, luring back the visitors to Belize. This time, some focus on the Canadian market. Stay with us.
Smart continues to expand its internet coverage countrywide to help you live a smarter life.
Our villagers are very happy. They are pleased to know that Smart went the extra mile to put a tower in our village so that our villagers can get live stream on their TVs and they can get their kids doing their online classes. I want to say to Smart, thank you for making it possible for us to get internet in Gardena Village. We really do appreciate it.
Smart continues to take the internet and mobile services to communities across Belize. Now save even more when you bundle your Smart broadband with Smart mobile services. Smart, bringing people together.
Nestle. Start healthy, stay healthy.
Want to leave a lasting impact when you travel? Then travel locally. Make memories to treasure for a lifetime while making a difference. Make protected areas your next travel destination. With over 25 protected areas under the APAMO umbrella, the possibilities for adventure and education are endless. You can bond with friends and family while trekking through the jungles to discover natural pools and breathtaking views. Or take that snorkeling trip to the magnificent world of coral gardens and marine life. Then camp under the stars to end off that perfect day in nature. By visiting protected areas, you are helping to preserve valuable plant and animal life. You're building local communities, and you're keeping our natural and cultural heritage alive. You have that power. Travel locally and make an impact. We invite you to visit a protected area near you and discover the beauty of Belize's wild places. APAMO, the voice of Belize's protected areas.
Dwayne Moody, Isani Cayetano, Andrea Polanco, Paul Lopez. Your News 5 Belize teams do whatever it takes. Go wherever they need to go, so you can catch the story wherever you are, whenever you want, on whatever device. Channel 5 Belize on television, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. Because news is now everywhere, all the time. And so are we.
Earlier in the newscast, we told you about the pending appointment of Belize's Dr. Carla Barnett to the post of Secretary General of CARICOM. During our Zoom interview, Barnett also weighed in on the issue of de-risking, which in recent years has placed serious pressure on regions' financial services. Due to the imposition of more stringent standards on the banking sector, there is a greater burden on financial institutions in smaller economies. They are faced with a shutoff or restriction of services from the overseas financial sector, including correspondent banks. As Barnett shared, the Caribbean region's economic growth and development has been affected, and de-risking remains a real and live issue for member states.
The same system that you have to put in place in a large country that may cost $10 million to deal with billions of accounts is the same system that we have to put in a small country where we're talking about much fewer people and much fewer dollars. So the risking issue for us is significant. It threatens our ability to engage in the global financial market, because if you don't have correspondent banking relations, you can't do business internationally. That can undermine the economics and trade. So it is really very critical. And one of the things that we do have to keep doing, aside from doing our best to keep up with the evolving legal requirements, is to continue to press the discussion about the impact on our economies and the fact that we're having to respond to 5 or 6 different kinds of regimes rather than having one. The same way we have a WTO that deals with all of the requirements for all the physical trade, maybe it is we can come up with one organization that deals with the requirements for financial transactions. As it is, there are several. There's the American requirements, there's the European requirements. Within Europe, you have 2 or 3 different kinds that are set out. And so it becomes very complicating and very expensive for us. And we don't want to be caught out, so to speak. We don't want to be where the weaknesses are, but it does cost us much more on a per capita basis to put in the same systems that the larger countries have to put in. That's a reality.
Guatemalan military officials were in Belize on Tuesday to meet with their Belizean counterparts. Guatemala's defense, military, naval, and air attaché Brigadier General member Yonivan Menendez Gasparico held meetings with Belize's Ministry of National Defense and Border Security officials at the Carl Thompson building in Belmopan. According to a statement from the Ministry of National Defense, both parties pledged to promote the spirit of goodwill and to strengthen the existing relationship of cooperation between Belize and Guatemala. Minister Florencio Marin Jr., Minister of State Oscar Mira, and CEO retired Brigadier General Dario Tapia from the Ministry of National Defense and Border Security were present for the courtesy visit. Recent attacks by Israeli officials against Palestinians have prompted the government of Belize to issue a release condemning the acts of violence. On Friday of last week, Israeli officials used stun grenades and smoke grenades against Palestinian protesters outside the Al-Aqsa Mosque in East Jerusalem. Israeli forces eventually made their way inside the mosque. The recent attacks against Palestinians in the area are the latest in decades-old land dispute between the two groups. Israeli Jewish settlers have laid claim on Sheikh Jarrah and community that is reportedly home to hundreds of Palestinian families. Members of the community have engaged in violent protests with Israeli authorities over the recent dispute. Reports are that dozens of Palestinian citizens and Israeli officers have been killed in this latest clash. The government of Belize on Monday issued a release placing on record its deep concern about the escalation of tensions over the last few days. The release says that Belize unequivocally condemns the violent confrontations and attacks against civilians of the Al-Aqsa Mosque compound. The release noted that any forcible eviction of Palestinians would be a flagrant violation of international and human rights law. Belize also called for Israel to respect the Palestinian people's holy sites and fundamental human rights. The Belize Tourism Board has taken the decision that travelers entering the country will no longer be required to download and complete the Belize Travel Health app prior to arrival. This adjustment to Belize's COVID-19 prevention regulations is outlined in Statutory Instrument Number 51 of 2021. The BTB notes, however, that Belize does still require that all arriving persons must provide either proof of full COVID-19 immunization received at least 2 weeks prior to arrival or a negative COVID-19 PCR test taken within 96 hours of travel, or a negative rapid test taken within 48 hours of travel. In addition, international tourists must book at a gold standard hotel and present confirmation at immigration. As the tourism industry rebounds, Minister of Tourism and Diaspora Relations Anthony Muller is facilitating a round of interviews with the Canadian media. Throughout today and then on Wednesday, Minister Muller will be engaging with magazines and media outlets, as well as freelancers from Montreal, Vancouver, and Toronto, reaching millions of persons in that country. Key insight into Belize's tourism offerings to the Canadian travel market is being shared.
The manner in which we've controlled COVID and all the natural and man-made and cultural assets that we have to offer in the country. I would like to invite the world to visit us. There's a lot to learn. There's a lot to experience in a safe and healthy way. I think in 8,867 square miles of land, we have so much assets, and we're putting in place all the necessary policies and programs for people to come to these and have a good experience. For example, just recently we launched a long stay program. Initially, when you came to Belize, you only had 30 days to stay in the country. Now this moves that up to 90, and then we want to get to 180 days for you to come and stay vacation, as they call it, and work and play while you're in Belize. We're doing that.
Just ahead, Iris is at the Miss Universe pageant. And who would know best what she is going through? Past contestants, that's who. A special interview with 3 other Belizean beauties when we return. But first, here is the weather forecast with data from the Belize Met Service.
For the best built tools with the best performance and service, Hilti is the brand you can trust. Our warranty program is second to none. Hilti will repair or replace any tool that breaks as a result of materials or manufacturing defects for 20 years. Get 2 years of no-cost wear and tear coverage, including parts. Hilti, the best tools with the best coverage. Available at Benny's Quality and Savings.
The contamination of water we all depend on is a very urgent issue. As Belize's popularity and industries grow, challenges increase. In this episode, we will examine the issue of water pollution in Belize. Water pollution is the contamination of water bodies, usually because of human activities. Water bodies include lagoons, rivers, aquifers, and oceans. On the marine side, the discharge of sewage and bilge water from cruise ships and other live-aboard vessels, in combination with unregulated development of coastal areas, has led to the degradation of marine ecosystems such as mangroves and coral reefs. Our inland waters are facing their own challenges. As agricultural development increases, pesticides, fertilizers, and waste products are running off into rivers. Increased river traffic from boat tours and sugar barges adds to the already stressful conditions of the freshwater ecosystems. In addition, companies that collect sewage sometimes dump the waste right into the waterways. Additionally, in densely populated areas like Belize City and Orange Walk, poor sewage designs result in the contamination of groundwater and of water bodies by both sewage and wash water. In many cases, homes and businesses dump their wastewater directly into drains, which leads to rivers and the sea. Wastewater, detergents, and petroleum collect in drains that empty into waterways, such as the New River and the Belize River. This, along with the runoff and discharges from the agricultural and industrial businesses, have been inadequately monitored and enforced. The answers to overcoming water pollution issues are fourfold: improved infrastructure, adequate treatment, increased legislation and monitoring, and of course, changing our habits for the better. While it is urgent that better management on a policy level is needed, there are a few things we can do at home to help. Ensure proper treatment systems are installed for all wastewater at your home and business. Don't dispose of oil from your automobiles or cooking and household detergents down the drain. And lastly, minimize the usage of chemicals and fertilizers and report any dumping into waterways to the Department of the Environment. The government has recognized the threat of inadequate liquid waste management and is working toward goals of reducing and reversing its effects. For more information on what's being done about water pollution and ways you can help, visit our website at doe.gov.bz. I'm Alison Castillo, and now you know.
Es un hecho. Únicamente con Smart obtienes todo realmente ilimitado. Solo con Smart obtienes datos ilimitados en cualquier momento. Mientras que con el otro proveedor solo son datos dobles los fines de semana. Con datos ilimitados todos los días no hay necesidad de esperar, así que es un hecho que nuestros planes ilimitados superan a la competencia. Por lo tanto, no permita que le digan cómo y cuándo usar sus datos y obtenga llamadas, mensajes de texto y datos ilimitados. Vive la verdadera experiencia de planes ilimitados con Smart. Es un hecho. Haga el cambio y viva Smart.
Miss Universe Belize Iris Salguero has been in Miami, Florida for 5 days now, representing the country in the 69th running of the international pageant. Salguero has been actively participating in several activities leading up to this Thursday's national costume competition. Then on Friday, the preliminaries takes place where the delegates will be interviewed by a panel of judges before strutting on stage. The emotions are real, and Salguero has been ready to go. Today, News 5's Dwayne Moody spoke with past Miss Universe Belize contestants about their experience and their words of advice for Iris Salguero.
Moments like this is where everything just sinks in. The countdown has begun. And I can't wait to be on the international stage, but I'm sure that we will make an impact.
24-year-old Iris Salguero is no stranger to pageantry, having competed in several international pageants, including Miss World and Miss Earth. Since last Friday, she has been participating in shoots and dance rehearsals, as well as meet and greets with the other beauty ambassadors from across the country. It's an experience that Miss Universe Belize 2016 Rebecca Rath says she knows all too well.
They're well underway. Everyone's watching her. I'm sure she's excited. You know, this has been a dream of hers for a while. So she's living in this moment and doing the best she can.
I think she's comfortable because it's a Latin fever, right? So she's in her element. But what she needs to take in, I think, is just the entire experience, which I think she's already doing. This is a once in a lifetime experience, and I'm happy for her that she gets to, even with a pandemic, she gets to experience something like this.
I think right now there's a lot going through her head. You know, you have the pressures of those who are watching you back at home and those who are watching you out in Miami right now. So right now she's just trying to make sure that all her T's are crossed and her I's are dotted, that she's looking her best at all times, that she's socializing with the girls, and also just sharing her story and making sure that the judges see the true Iris.
Over the past 5 years, there has been a focus by pageant blogs on Belize, starting with Rath, who was featured by the Miss Universe organization back in 2016. In 2018, Janella Fraser represented the country in Bangkok, Thailand, and then in 2019, Destiny Arnold caught the attention of Miss Universe official skincare mogul Olivia Quido. Fast track to 2021, Salguero is also gaining traction by bloggers.
I just hope to make every single one of you proud. So I hope that you all can tune in the night. It'll be aired through Telemundo, I believe, as well. So tune in, make sure you're watching, have your Belizean flag. I probably won't be able to hear you, but you'll be with me in my heart.
Her predecessors share some advice.
Remember what makes you a powerful contender. We all fell in love with her story, the way that it pulled on our heartstrings and the way that those who had went through the same experience with her identified with her and found that motivation within her story. So make sure that she's shifting the focus on her story, what sets her apart from the rest of the girls.
It doesn't matter about the glitz and glam. It's all about who you present yourself to be, the sincere you, the authentic you, because that makes you stand out. So I'm hoping that she's doing a good job at that. So I am hoping that she remains confident and calm and present who she is and who Belize is. And in terms of the prelims, it's a show. So rock the stage.
This is something she'll carry with her for the rest of her life and something that will change her as a woman, as a person by the time this experience is over. So my advice, soak it in, be yourself, have fun, practice your training, you know, but Miss Universe is about someone authentic.
Dwayne Muda for News 5.
And that's the news. Tonight's broadcast is available in both text and streaming video at channel5belize.com. You can also connect with us on our Facebook page at facebook.com/News5Live. I'm Sabrina Daly. Thanks for joining us, and from all of us here at News 5, please remember to wash your hands, keep your social distance, and stay safe. Good night.